Enjoying a stroll around town is not something Natalia Radzina takes for granted. She's a journalist on the run from the security service of her native Belarus, and now stranded in the Lithuanian capital Vilnius. But at least she feels safe here.
They
tapped my phone and followed me on the street. They were always monitoring me. I was under constant surveillance by state security in Belarus. Here in Lithuania, I'm suddenly free. That's great, but it's hard to get used to.
Natalia has an odyssey behind her. She left Belarus for Russia and then the Netherlands, and has now found a refuge among fellow expat regime critics in Lithuania. She's the only writer still active on the Charter 97 human rights website about President Alexander Lukashenko and his abuse of power.
The KGB confiscated 20 computers and put huge pressure on my colleagues. I lost 2 teams because people were afraid to come to work. They scattered when the police beat me up.
Here at the KGB Museum in Vilnius, Natalia recalls the events of December 19, 2010 in the Belarusian capital Minsk. Her involvement in protests against election fraud earned her a beating and imprisonment.
I can't take it. They took me to a place just like this. The cell was similar. The beds too. But there were so many of us that I had to lie on the floor. It was awful. There are still innocent people in jail there in Minsk. Presidential candidate Andranis, for example, was given 5 years.
Minsk, where the dictator Alexander Lukashenko still rules with an iron fist. Natalia shared her jail cell with journalist Irina Chalip. She was still behind bars when she heard that Natalia had managed to escape. Her relief is tinged with sadness.
There was suddenly this awful certainty that Natalia and the others were gone, either free or in jail, and I was left on my own. Of course, I'm happy that she's now in safety.
Natalia grew up in the town of Kobrin. Her mother regularly brought her her favorite cake while in jail. She also assisted her flight out of the country.
Since Natalia fled, she's tried to call me once a week. That helps me survive without my daughter. As soon as she calls, I'm relieved.
20 years ago, people in both Lithuania and Belarus were fighting for the same cause, independence. And when Lukashenko came to power, Vilnius supported dissidents like Natalia Radzina. But then it made a fateful error and passed on information about a regime critic to Belarusian state security.
That was our failure, and our government apologized to the Belarusian people for it. All the parties are opposed to dictatorship and want to see democracy in Belarus.
Natalia Radzina had no difficulty getting a residence visa. After all her ordeals, at least she was spared the red tape.
We were granted political asylum in Lithuania and a residence permit for 5 years.
How long will Lukashenko hold on to power? And what can opposition activists do to oust him? That's practically all that Natalia and her colleagues now think about.
The idea of Lukashenko getting assistance from the European Union is absurd. Instead of issuing statements, Brussels should be imposing economic sanctions that would topple the dictator within days or weeks.
The Belarusian opposition desperately needs more support. Natalia now wants to promote its cause in Brussels and Washington. So until democracy arrives in her home country, Natalia's odyssey continues.